somebody asked me a while back to do a tutorial on how to flash profie boards for Sabertrio. There's already plenty of good tutorials on how to flash profie boards with Arduino, so I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but I at least want to highlight the differences between Sabertrio and other Saber makers, because Sabertrio's config files are a little bit different. Before you do anything with your profie board, you want to back up your SD card. Once you plug in your SD card, put all the contents of the card into a separate folder in your hard drive. So this is what you would see inside the SD card. So you have all these sound files, and your extra folder is where your proffie OS lives. So these are your config files. I consolidated the ones, it means to say for proffieboard 2 and proffieboard 3, it means to say for the purposes of this video. So you're basically going to select the config file, it means to say that corresponds to your Sabertrio. So this would be the crystal chamber. This would be if you had a crossguard or the Senza with the OLED screen. And these would be for your legacy cores right here. And this would be for proffieboard 3.9. Again, crystal chamber, crossguard, also with the OLED screen. So I am going to open up the crossguard with the OLED screen. Okay, and I am also going to pull up one of my LGT proffie config files. So I'm just going to put this side by side here. Actually, I'm going to expand this. So this is for one of my LGT proffie lightsabers. Okay, and as you can see, you will have a bracket and a comma in between each sound file. Now, the difference with Sabertrio is that it has this extra line. This is like this extra line in the blade style. This is for the battery level. So that's something that you're not going to see with LGT. And the other difference here is that for LGT, you see this is like it ends here with black, these 3 arrows, parentheses, bracket, and a comma. For Sabertrio, your blade style is just going to end with 1 arrow and a comma, and this extra is just like and this extra line for your just like for your battery level, and then this here is for the LED button. I mean, just like for the power core. By default, they have all the buttons pulse on and off. And if you have a crossguard, this is also for the this is for the LED. And this would be for the crossguard, right here. And this final line of text, this is for if you have an OLED. This is like you have an OLED screen. It's just like if it doesn't have, it's like if it doesn't have an image, it's just going to have this word right here, and then you have it's just like and then you have a bracket with a comma. So other thing which I want to highlight is that your OLED screen is going to have these 2 lines of code right here. which isn't present. I mean, it's like for this is like for my LGT Saber here, and I'm going to also pull up the config file. Maybe just say for the crystal chamber. Let's go pull this one. This here you see is for the crystal chamber, and again Sabertrio by default they have it. It's just like they have their crystal chamber pulse on and off, and this would be for the LED button. For the purpose of this tutorial, I am going to take the crystal chamber config file, make a copy in the desktop, and throw it back into the folder. So I'm going to open this, and I am going to change the first sound found here to Return of the Jedi. And I'm going to go to FET236's website and grab a blade style. So this is going to be rotoscope single color from the original trilogy. I am going to change the base color to green. Okay, I'm not going to do anything super fancy here. Go add a stab effect. Okay, and I'm going to copy the code, and I'm going to go back to my config file. I'm going to highlight all this and paste. Now, because I want to keep these two lines of code here, I'm just going to remove those parentheses and a couple brackets. So it's going to end with black. I also want to change the crystal chamber to green. Okay, so I'm going to go back to FET's 236's website, go on crystal chamber. It's already going to be on green, but I want to change. I want to change this. I'm going to change this to slow pulse dim on, and I'm also going to have this match the on color. So I'll have the preview here. We'll grab this style code. Go back to my config file. And I'm basically going to copy this over. And I also want to change the LED code here, because this is still for, I believe it's blue. So I'm also going to change this to green. Okay, so this is for your LED button. Okay, and again, I want this to match the on color. Okay, slow pulse them on. So I'll show my preview. I'm going to copy this. Okay, and then I'm going to change this text here from Sabertrio to Return of the Jedi. Okay. And then for the next sound font, I'm going to change this to a fire style. We'll go back here. Okay, I'm going to change this to red. And it's time to do something different. Spark to ignition. Stable power forward. Okay, so just a preview here. Copy this. Now, because the fire code does not play nicely with these two lines of code, I'm just going to completely run all this over. I'm just not going to have the battery level for this one. That's okay, because I already know, I mean, just like from personal experience, that that the Fireblade styles do not work nicely, I mean, just like with the battery level. Okay, so now I have like the fire style here, and I'm going to have to also get the fire style for the crystal chamber. Okay, so it still has my settings. I mean, just like from when I did my other blade style. So I'm going to change this to a random flicker, single color, match your own color. But I also want it to mimic the ignition effects. Okay, so spark tip. Unstable power forward. Steady retraction. And unstable cooldown reverse. So I basically want the crystal chamber to mimic what the blade is doing. Okay, so we'll copy the style code. Replace that for the crystal chamber. And I'm going to do the same thing for the LED button. Okay, I'm going to flicker. Spark prediction. Stable power up. Okay, so we'll copy this code. And I'm going to replace this with fire. Okay, so now I'm going to save this. Once you are done with your config file, you want to be able to flash in your proffie board, which you will do through Arduino. Again, this is not going to be a full tutorial. I'm just going to do a quick run through. So, Sabertrio does have a tutorial on their site under the user guide. So, there's a link here for Proffie OS documentation. So you would click on this link and download Arduino. So this is a software that you will need to flash your Proffie board. And then after you install Arduino, then you are going to have to install this plugin, which again, follow the instructions. Okay, I'm not going to do the full overview of how to install it. So once you install Arduino, you're going to go back to your Proffie OS folder. I mean, this is like on the same one where you have your config file, and you're going to click on this. So again, you're going to have to upload the Proffie board in here, and I am not going to put in the update here because the updates do not work well, in my opinion. So you want to select your board. Okay, so I am going to run a search for Proffie. Okay, and again, for the purpose of this, Proffie 2. Oh wait, no, I think I did Proffie 3. Alright, so I am just going to verify my sample file here. It's going to take a moment. While I'm waiting for this, don't touch the rest of the code here. Just leave these double lines. You're going to enter your config file with this top line and just get rid of these 2 backslashes. But don't touch anything else here. Okay. And as you can see, it's successfully compiled and just taking up 43% the Proffie 3.9. Now that I know that the config file is good to go, I'm going to go back to my folder here, and for the purpose of this, I'm not going to completely dump the files in here, but you want your files, I mean, just like the sound fonts to match your config file. So the first one I did here was Return of the Jedi. Okay, so the folder I have here are my Kyberphonic fonts. So so I would basically just copy the contents of the return on the Proffie. So I would basically copy all this and replace the contents of this folder right here. And second font which I did was Fire. So we'll go back to my Kyberphonic folder here. Fire. And I would basically copy the contents here and replace the contents of this folder. So you would repeat this for for any of the sound fonts that you did for your config file. I almost forgot one more thing before you flash your Proffie board. Make sure you delete these 2 files before you flash it. Once you are done with uploading files into your microSD card, you want to right click on it and eject. Don't just yank it off your computer. Okay, once you have your microSD card back in your power core, now it's time to connect it to your computer. So plug in the one end to your power core and the other end to your computer. Now you want to make sure that you have the correct port selected for your proffie core and also the correct proffie board, as like in the above drop down. So this one would be for my proffie core 2.2, which I have for the Vectra. And I just clicked on the check mark. So now it is compiling. And now it is uploading into the proffie board. It's going to take about a minute for the board to flash. But once it does so, it's like you're going to hear a sound. And then it will prompt you when it's done. This may or may not be necessary, but I also like to eject the proffie board in the settings menu once I am done flashing it. So there you have it. I realize that this is not an exhaustive tutorial on how to flash a proffie board, but I at least want to give an overview on how to flash a proffie board specifically for Sabertrio. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in comments. Thank you so much for watching.